What, are you not going to open your fortune cookie?
I mean, there's never really anything worth reading inside, and they don't taste good anyway. Really, I only eat at this restaurant because the Chinese food is delicious.
Fine, I'll open it for you then. Wow, this is probably the longest fortune I've ever seen.
What is it? Read it out loud.
I thought you didn't like what was inside the fortune cookies.
I usually don't, but just read it anyway.
Alright, so it says, since the ultimate purpose and meaning of science are seen as grounded in its role and ability to contribute to inevitably determinate pursuits undertaken in a certain direction and with certain goals of creating changes in the world, knowledge too turns out to be determinate and directional.
You know, that's actually interesting to think about.
Wait, that's funny. I just learned about this in English class. This is a Vygotskian theory that states that the way in which science is performed directly influences the way we think, as in our knowledge of not only ourselves, but what we know about the world is derived from scientific investigation.
So are you saying the sentence makes sense to you? Because I'm lost. I don't really see the connection between science and knowledge.
I've actually been learning about Vygotsky's concept the past couple of weeks in class, and it's surprising, but yeah, this actually makes sense to me.
Really? So what do you think the ultimate purpose and meaning of science is?
Well, we were just reading Anna Stutsenko and Igor M. Urivich's article that analyzes Vygotskian techniques, and from what I understand, the interpretation of the meaning of science in this article, according to Vygotsky's principle, is that instead of science being based solely on the facts of biological adaptation, science is more of an activity that has to do with the collaboration of people to initiate change.
How can science initiate change? That doesn't make sense.
If you think about it, we're able to change our own lives through specific actions. Basically, we have control over our environment, so we choose the direction that our lives go. If you put that in terms of science, it's kind of the same thing. Science is grounded in its role and ability to contribute to inevitably determinate pursuits.
I'm not in your English class. Want to try explaining that last part in a way I can understand?
Sorry, I usually talk about this only in my English class. What I mean by inevitably determinate pursuits is something that involves a clearly defined objective that can't be changed no matter what, so you can reach your goals.
Alright, I understand that now, but how does it relate to science?
Just like in our own life, science has the ability to determine its own direction, so that inevitably it can change the world, you know? Like, it can have an impact on something larger than just a sterile laboratory setting.
But isn't there only one type of science, the kind that deals with sterile laboratory settings? I mean, at least that's what I think about when I hear the word science, a controlled environment, like pure science.
It's funny you say that, because that's exactly what Vygotsky would define as an old-fashioned outlook on science. By that, I mean a laboratory setting where there's no outside influence from the world that can change the outcome of the experiment. That's not the science he's referring to in this sentence, because the sentence talks about how science is connected to knowledge. So in a laboratory setting, you're not really gaining knowledge about yourself or the world. It's more of a confined type of knowledge, like a chemical reaction, where the only type of knowledge that you're learning is pure facts about chemistry.
Okay, so that's the old-fashioned definition of science. What science is Vygotsky referring to in the sentence when he talks about gaining knowledge?
The science Vygotsky is talking about is the science where the importance should be based on a social and collaborative network of ideas that's affected by outside factors like race and gender. Because if you think about in the real world, there's always going to be different points of view that will heavily influence the pursuits and direction of science. With that being said, this type of science is something that defines a certain direction in science, allowing us to develop a unique and diverse outlook on life.
This is starting to make more sense. Basically what you're saying is that the result of Vygotsky's theory on science is actually meaningful to us because it helps us gain knowledge about the society we live in.
Yeah, but it's not just knowledge about the world that we're obtaining from his interpretation of science. We're also able to gain a sense of self-knowledge. Think about it. Throughout your whole life, your perception about certain situations has changed, forcing you to be open-minded, right?
Yeah, exactly. The way I see life now is different from when I was little, because I have been able to be a part of collaborative learning experiences, which gives me another point of view to think about besides my own.
Exactly. So that's how Vygotsky is able to link science and knowledge. He's saying that just like science, our knowledge is influenced by outside factors that inevitably will determine the path we take in life. Both science and knowledge are so similar because they're both concepts that aid in the development of the world.
I guess after this conversation, it'd be a good idea if I start reading my portions more often.
Yeah, you should, because you never know where it will take you.
Yeah, they always are